Do you think Max's magic underwear has like pattern on it? Like,
Oh,
what does it have
absolutely.
on it?
It's like hearts or something. Or at this point, it's probably like Gengars or Togepi.
Gars, yeah, no, I could actually see that. Hello and welcome to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. I am your host, Isaac Edlund, and I have one other dear friend and fellow Infinity Bro with me. It is the carrot and tinfoil hat distributor of the Infinity Bros universe, Mark Jones.
Glad to be here. As we talked about in the Patreon part of this episode, Isaac is not letting me get too close to the swamp and drag us all into the weeds and be there for 2 hours. So
Yeah, we
I'm glad to be back.
If we allow Mark to take a hold of this podcast, like Max did back in the WandaVision days, we could be here all night. So we're going to keep this close to the chest. I'm going to try to corral Mark as much as I possibly can when talking about Agatha All Along today. But the fun thing about that is, as the official carrot distributor of the Infinity Bros universe, we have a lot of rabbit holes to dive into with this show today. So I'm not even like I had a list of nerd news things to talk about, but I feel like we could be talking about Agatha All Along for hours. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skip that stuff.
Well, and we could just talk about Agatha, and if we don't have that much time, you could bring up the nerd news stuff.
Yeah,
I think you're very bold on, or not bold. You're very doing a good hosting thing of let's do the thing that could take us way longer than it should.
Yes,
and then if we don't go long, we have this other thing we talk about.
Okay, I will say there is one thing that I do want to talk about. So we will do some nerd news.
Oh, okay. Lay it on me.
Then
slap me across
we'll
the face
dive into Agatha All Along. But first, if you have never listened to the Infinity Bros podcast, we're a group of 6 guys who are rotating cast, talking about all things pop culture, film, TV, video games, whatever is making us happy in the nerd realm that week. So we're talking about Agatha All Along today. We have plenty of reviews on our backlog of Star Wars shows, mostly following the MCU because that's kind of our bread and butter as the Infinity Bros. But yeah, we've got a realm of things that we have talked about on the podcast. So you can check out theinfinitybros.com to go back and look at those. All right, Mark, now it's time for some nerd news.
Hey, Zane, I was looking into getting into this Gunpla thing. There's one called the Unicorn Banshee. What the heck is that all about? Actually, Jarrett, what you're thinking of is RX-0 Unicorn Gundam 2 Banshee, which is from the Mobile Suit Gundam. Actually, you know what? It's time for nerd news.
Literally the one thing that I really wanted to talk about, besides Agatha All Along, is something that is near and dear to my heart, Nicolas Cage. We got some set photos of the Spider-Man Noir show, which I think we did show them in the Infinity Bros group chat, Mark. So you should have been able to see the pictures at least. Well, but then they also released or leaked. I don't even know where the origin of these images is from, but they were retweeted and stuff by plenty of official accounts. So I'm fairly sure that they're
I want to say it was
real.
Last week I shared one photo, and I think the photos that were today or yesterday were like very clear and like clearly we're like, we're gonna put these out. Where the photo I sent was very much like, this that could just like be made up, or that one was a true leak. This one was like, here's actual nice photos of this.
Yeah, but they're of Spider-Man Noir on a top of a car and kind of like going down the street, and they're of like the actual filming. So there's like a green screen in the background. It's obviously not Nicolas Cage, so I'm assuming it's a stunt actor doing all this, but the costume looks like it's straight out of a Spider-Man Noir comic, which I'm very happy with. It looks great. It looks like it's almost straight out of the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie as well. Like, it's a great looking costume. He's got a trench coat, kind of like the ski mask with the goggles. He's got the fedora on. Everything about that looks great. So I'm not worried about the aesthetic of that show. However, it is still Sony. So there's definitely potential for them to screw it up.
But it's Nick Cage.
But it's Nick Cage. So I'm going to watch it no matter what.
Can you imagine if this is like more successful and then this is what we'll get from Sony instead of all these freaking dumb villain movies? Or like, we're just going to do alternate universe Spider-Man because clearly this is just printing money for us.
Yeah. Well, and it really, like, if you're going to hold on to an aspect of the Spider-Man universe, let it be other versions of Spider-Man. Let's not do the villain thing because obviously that's not working out for you. You know, like, let's just focus on, and, you know, if I'm getting my way, give it all back to Marvel because they obviously have a better handle on how they're producing these things. Because obviously, I've heard a lot of people say Venom,
Disney Marvel.
Disney Marvel, yes,
to be very
correct.
clear.
Disney Marvel. Yeah. Venom 3 just dropped this weekend, actually. And I've heard a
Have
lot
you
of people
seen-
say, I have not seen it. I do actually, I like.
I was going to say the reviews. I was going to ask if you've seen the reviews. That's
I have considered going to see it because honestly, I wasn't planning on it. And then I saw that trailer with Null and I was like, I might have to go see this. Like, I don't know what the heck is going on with this, but it looks fascinating in a train wreck kind of way.
Sure.
To me. So I was like, if I have time, I might go see it. Have not had time. So I have not seen it, but the reviews are roasting it. There is not a lot of positive reviews coming out of Venom 3. So
but still a better Rotten Tomato score than the first Venom and Madam Web. So there's something
yeah, well, it doesn't take much to beat Madam Web. So and it just being Tom Hardy anyways, like, I think that's enough for people to like it more than a lot of other stuff that Sony has put out. I don't know, man. Anyways, Sony, I think them producing this alongside Amazon and MGM is a good sign because hopefully they can at least be like the checks and balances and not, you know, let Sony have free reign over this show. I don't know. Either way, it's Nicolas Cage. It looks good. So I'm positive about it.
You just do, like, I think this is how you make money with the Spider-Man stuff. You find an alternate Spider-Man. You find a famous actor who wants to play Spider-Man. Don't matter their age. Or it doesn't have to, it could be Spider-Gwen. It's just an alternate version that you can tell a different story, make it live action, do it every 3 years. People love it. You don't need to follow a timeline. You can, because it's all alternate universe stuff. Yeah. And that's what, you know, the audience, that's what your core audience that will go and pay and see this movie want. So
right.
Like, then you'll get your answer, and then you make it PG-13 for the most part because then you get all the kids coming. So
right. Even though I'm not a fan of like Sony, you know, retaining rights to the Spider-Man stuff, I would much rather see a Miles Morales live action movie than a Craven movie. You know, like, that's just I don't know what to tell you. That's just like,
I'm sure they have some contract with Disney Marvel that says, hey, you won't touch any Spider-Man, whether it's Miles Morales or, you know, Peter Parker, like as those two Spider-Man people.
But I think Sony's got the leverage in that though, so I don't think they would give up complete. And they've already announced, Sony has, that they're in pre-production, I should say. It's not like being made currently.
For Spider-Man 4.
For Spider-Man 4, yes, but they've said that they are in the works of producing a live action Miles Morales movie. Will that end up happening? I have no idea.
Oh, it should already happened.
Especially with like all the rumors floating around about Spider-Man 4, Tom Hardy potentially appearing in Spider-Man 4 as Venom.
That's what Venom should have always been the Hulk version for the Disney Marvel. That's what Venom should have been for Sony Spider-Man. He should just been in every movie, but not his own movie.
Right. Yeah. Should have been. Mm-hmm. But instead we have a Venom trilogy.
We sure do. And someone made their money somewhere.
Somebody did. China made them a lot of money and probably promoted them to make 2 more movies. So there you go. And
it's not like they're bad. They're good popcorn movies, but like,
sure, yeah, they are fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, popcorn flick, decent action, kind of funny,
but we didn't
not
need
good
3
movies. But do we need 3 of them? No.
After the first one was like, but I'm sure Tom Hardy was like, that's in his contract. So they're like, we're gonna do 3. Here's your $100 million. Each one is done okay at the box office because it's overseas and China loves it. Like, we're gonna make another one.
And this will be also the first live action television series that they've produced with the Spider. They had a Silk show that was like in production that got canceled a while back, but this will be the first like live action one that if it ever does get premiered, will be the first one. So we'll see how it all goes down. But Nicolas Cage Spider-Man Noir, I'm in 100%. Doesn't matter if it's bad or not. So there you go. All right, that's it, Mark. That's all I wanted to talk about with that. It's pertinent news to myself. So
hey, I'm all for your love of both Spider-Man and Nicolas Cage. So them coming together to do a Spider-Man Noir for you,
it's like a dream come true for me.
I'm so happy you're alive, and hopefully you are still alive and thriving, and the world hasn't ended by the time this movie gets released.
Nicolas Cage is like 100 years old by the time
I hope
this
you
movie comes out.
I hope you get to leave your new home to go watch this movie. That's how much I hope and pray your dreams come true for this.
Yeah, that is the dream right there. It's the dream. All right, Agatha All Along. We did review episodes 1 through 4 on, I believe it was episode 210 of the Infinity Bros podcast. So we'll make sure that link is in the show notes. But if you want to go hear a review of the top half of the show, make sure you go check that out. We'll probably be mentioning a few things from the top half of the show, but we're going to focus on the last 3 episodes, episode 5, 6, and 7. And especially 6 and 7, because I feel like we've got a lot of stuff going on in these 2 episodes. This show has just gotten better and better as it's gone. Honestly, I came out and we talked about how this show it's a good spooky season show. Like, it's a good show. I wouldn't say it's the best show ever or anything like that. Like best Disney Plus Marvel show. I wouldn't give it that title quite yet, but every episode that has come out with has just gotten better and better and better. So Mark, why don't you go ahead and give us just kind of a up to this point in Agatha All Along, what are your general non-spoiler thoughts, and how have the last few episodes been for you?
So again, we're going through the trials on the road. The last few episodes, we've gotten flashbacks of the teen and what his life led up to where he is now, which I thought was good. At the last so like going to the last 3 episodes, I gotta get it in my head. So episode 5, we kind of get revealed who the teen is, because Agatha, and then we kind of figure out what's kind of twisting Agatha's chain and then Rio's chain too. And then this latest episode, we really get more context and a character reveal, if you were not tapped into the whole thing. That's a pretty tip of the iceberg talk about, but overall I've been satisfied with storytelling. I've been satisfied with the acting. I've been satisfied with cinematography. I've been satisfied with the character designs and how they've been portrayed. And honestly, this last episode, how, if you really dug into it, how broken the episode was and how it was told through the mind of I'll just let people go watch it, but I like how it was not in sequence order. The whole episode, it was like back and forth, and then it all came together at the end. And then I don't know. I've been blown away with this episode or the series, and I'm still shocked that people like talk crap about it, because it's like, and what's funny, it's like the people who loved The Acolyte like to point out like how this show's not doing as good as The Acolyte does, and I just find that hilarious, because it's
really?
Like, interesting. The weird circles I get pulled into online and see this stuff, and I'm just like, And then, of course, me being a white man, where people are like, "Oh, white men hated the Acolyte, and they're going to hate Agatha all along." I was like, "No, me as a I mean, I guess I should be white. I'm a redhead. I'm out of the spectrum of all that stuff."
You don't count as white. You're your own category.
I had the Nephilim blood. That's where I'm at. If you want to jive with that, but I just find it so wild where it's like, well, what Agatha does so well, the Acolyte didn't, was the storytelling and the context of the story, and then the execution of all of that. I think Agatha does so much better. Mm-hmm. So that's my big rave of Agatha all along. I had no expectations going in, just like I did with Acolyte, and my enjoyment of the series has just been through the roof every time. So there you
go. Last thing you said there is what I'll start with. Is my expectations were pretty low on this show, just with how WandaVision ended, and I don't think I'm not as down on WandaVision as a few people on the show, not including you. I know you liked it, but if you go back to our WandaVision episodes, we had some pretty heated discussions about that show. And I liked WandaVision. It was a good show. Definitely was kind of a deflating ending, I feel like, for what they led it up to be.
I agree with you. I think it's still, I've gone back and watched it a few times. Overall, I still think it's a great series. I think it's a top 2 series or top 5. I'll give it at least. But yes, it is the ending of that does leave, like you said, it's a little deflating. That's probably the best one, where it's just like, could have been better.
And it's not like horrible. Like, it wasn't an awful finale or anything, but it was just like, oh man, they really built this up, and then kind of was just plateaued off the end of the season.
Where was Mephisto? Where is he?
Get into that here. But anyways, it's just my expectations weren't high for this show, but I think that's where I need to just start with now from here on out. Like, we've been saying this for basically all of phase 4 and 5 of the MCU. Like, they built us up so much to get to Endgame, and then we've had these projects where we're basically starting over, and it's hard to see the connectivity in the MCU and blah blah blah, all this stuff. And our expectations were so high from the first 3 phases that I think it sounds bad to say you need to lower your expectations to enjoy these movies or shows or anything like that. But I have enjoyed this show much more coming from a place of low expectations, or, not at least expecting one thing and, coming to find out there's another thing going on, like in WandaVision. So very, very intrigued at how this season is going to end. Next week, actually on October 30th, we have 2 episodes that will be the second to last and finale that are airing on Disney Plus. So
before we go
ending next week.
Before we go any farther, can I ask a question upon you and the audience?
Yes.
With these last 2 episodes, do you think we get a hero or villain that we've already seen get involved somehow? Like, do you think, like, to me, like, does Wanda make an appearance back? Is she resurrected, or do we find out that she's captive by Mephisto? Do we get or even a reference? Do we get a Fantastic Four, like, direct reference? Do we get Doctor Strange showing up? Does Captain America show up? What do you think? You think we get anything like that? Or maybe the big reveal will be like Mephisto's here. Like, we'll get a character we've been talking about forever, and he finally shows up and he's there.
So obviously we got probably one of the bigger season reveals in this latest episode, which we'll talk about after we give the spoiler review. I think I could definitely see it in a post-credit scene, because you mentioned it a couple episodes ago, and I'm on board with this. I want to go back to the times where we get a post-credit scene that is pointing us towards the next project. Like, we've had a lot
or a future project that we know is coming.
Or a future project, right. We've had a lot of it where the post-credit scene was just like a little bit of a bonus scene. It wasn't like necessarily looking forward to anything. It might have just been a funny thing, like,
it's whatever. The Pizza Papa.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to that, and if it were a Fantastic Four reference because of Agatha Harkness's connection to the Fantastic Four in the comics, I would absolutely love that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think we're going to get that? Probably not, but I'm hoping for it. So fingers crossed, would love to see it. I don't know. That's a great question. I think there's definitely a big possibility that we get a Wanda appearance, because I'm trying to remember if this was previous to the episodes that we've reviewed or not, but there at one point in the show, Agatha Harkness is gives a cryptic response to Billy about if Wanda is still alive. So I think
in
there
all
is
fairness,
room.
in episode 1, we see who's supposed to be Wanda on a morgue table. So there's that.
Yes, that's true. So we'll see. Anyways, before we go any further, I feel like we need to give a spoiler warning because we're dancing on it all of this anyways. So here's your official spoiler warning for episodes 5 through 7 of Agatha All Along.
This is
Prepare yourself.
an Infinity Bros
Prepare yourself.
spoiler warning.
All right, Mark. Now we can dive in. So episode 7,
6 out
we
of
already
6
mentioned
is
it.
across the board.
So good, dude. Oh my gosh. Episode 7 was the best episode of this series by far, I think.
Mm-hmm.
6 was good too. I did like seeing his, team's
6 was
like
for it being a context and story driven episode where like we're bringing it, from the past to the now. It was well executed, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I think we got another big piece, which I'll bring back in a bit. But I want to talk about episode 7 first because it was so stinking good, and I was like, I was not expecting this level of excellence in this show with this episode. I was kind of like thinking that all these episodes were going to be like, oh, really good, like really fun. I think this is a fun spooky show, like you were saying, kind of more on the whimsical side of like, but this was just a fantastic episode of television. Like you could bring this episode up to probably top 5 of Marvel Disney Plus television episodes that we've ever seen so far. So it was so stinking good. I want to give special shout out to is it Liliana or Lilia Calderu is the character's name. Patty Lupone plays her, and she is phenomenal. Like she better get an Emmy nomination in this episode. Like you mentioned previously, this episode is out of sequence in time, which I think is a pretty risky move. Number one, television wise, because we've seen that in other shows, and we didn't necessarily see it quite similar to this in The Acolyte, but we did see 2 episodes that were flashbacks kind of out of sequence with the rest of the series. And a lot of people, including myself and probably you, I assume too, were thrown off by the pacing and the weird timing of those flashback episodes in that show. But it is done masterfully in this episode. And we get more and more filled into the context of everything that has happened. And then they throw in even moments from other episodes that, she had a weird freak out or said something weird or whatever. And now we have context of those moments in the season before. It just, man, it was so stinking good. And we got a perfect ending for her, if that truly is her ending. I mean, it definitely seems like that is, her sacrificing herself at the end of the episode. But then she got to go.
No, go on. Sorry.
So then she got to go back to, the moment where she, stopped experiencing things out of sequence, which was like so cool. I loved how they ended that episode. Anyways, go ahead.
I was gonna say the way she, perishes is interesting to me, where it's like, well, those Night Sisters, or not Night Sisters, what the Salem 7,
yeah,
how it's like, you really think those Salem sisters die by getting stabbed through the chest with a sword.
Yeah,
highly doubt it. Her, yes. So
Mhm.
I don't know if we'll see more of her, but then also I just imagine you can't be. There's got to be a little more to your death when it happens on the witch's road. So that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Like she
True.
probably could come back, but
It's possible.
we'll see.
And
also,
we
like,
get the. Oh, go ahead.
I would say
You-
also like a part of her, like, because what we realize is she's able to see, like, she's basically experienced her whole life, and that's why she has those like out of touch moments. Is like she's not in that moment exactly. She's in a moment in the future, the past. But we also in that episode we get Rio revealed.
Yes.
So that's where I'd like to
what I was
talk.
just gonna-
Where like
Yeah, that's.
we knew beforehand that she was Death. This time we actually get like what she looks like as Death. So like to me is like I want to know what, like, I'm guessing the next episode we're gonna get more. We're gonna get an episode with her and Agatha, like what they did prior to this
Yeah.
point. Like we have
Yeah.
to get that. So
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something. I would, if it's not a whole episode, we're definitely going to see a significant portion of an episode that is focused on their relationship, because there's still some blanks that we got to kind of figure out before this series comes to a conclusion. But that was an amazing reveal. I thought she looked fantastic. Aubrey Plaza is the perfect person to play this part, honestly. Right. Like, she's got the crazy eyes and just is able to play that just off the hook, like, crazy character, but also has kind of that threatening or, imposing presence, I guess. And yeah, it's been great watching her and all. It's been a great cast, honestly. I think everybody was casted very well. Aubrey Plaza was just like icing on the cake of this show.
Do you think if we get a flashback, do we think we get an interaction of Thanos and her? And we see the Thanos falling in love with what she does?
No, because that would, I don't know. I feel like that would probably go against the whole premise of his not I shouldn't say that. It doesn't go against the premise.
His snap was to do something good for the universe in his mind.
Right.
Where in the comics he's doing it to impress Death.
Mm-hmm. Literally to impress her. Right, exactly. There's such different storylines that I feel like it would kind of run.
You're right. I got too excited.
What the MCU did. But would I love it? Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Or even something like, you don't have to be direct with that, but like they had some crossing where he was just like, all right.
Yeah, right. Or or just revealed that they were in a relationship at some point or something like that. Like that would be amazing. Yeah. I love that. But my inner comic nerd would.
So it would be interesting. They call her the first Green Witch. Yeah. So like to me, like, was there a point in existence that there was no death? Because like that's the whole purpose. She's supposed to be like how we realize who Death is. Like like she's almost an omnipresent god in a sense. So
yeah, that's where I don't really get the connection yet, because in the comics she's more this like cosmic being
entity,
entity, and she's not necessarily a witch, per se. And they, I mean, obviously you mentioned they call her the Green Witch, like, and she definitely looks like a witch. She does the witch stuff that everybody else is doing in this
another callback
series
to a previous episode when we did our top 5 for villains we want to see. The Scarlet Witch, or the first Scarlet Witch or whatever, is one of those beings that is kind of like a lowercase g god or something like that.
Right.
That was banished, and like then what they could do is like when when Scarlet Witch does her disappearance at the end of Doctor Strange 2, that's supposed to release him back into our realm. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot that could go on with that, where it's like, are these witches that happen to be on Earth also not omnipresent, but like also cosmic entities? So it's like, so does each witch category have some version of a cosmic entity as the beginning?
I don't know. I feel like death is so on the nose that like what other roles would you give the other
Yeah.
witches, I guess. Like I that wouldn't necessarily make sense to me. But at the same time, I don't really get the connection of death being a witch either. So I don't know. Maybe we could throw that in there. But yeah, I mean this reveal was great. I think episode 7 was the best of the series by far. Like you already mentioned, 6 out of 6 was a phenomenal episode. Let's rewind a little bit, go back to episode 5.
Okay.
So we got another trial. This one was Agatha's, I believe, is what they said.
Yeah.
And let's see, was that the
because they use the Ouija board and they contact.
Yeah.
First we get like they write out death, and
Mhm.
then that's where we kind of get like the okay, death is involved, and then it's
Right.
they summon her mom.
Right.
That's what.
Yeah, some interesting things there, and like we're kind of gaining some context that her mom was pretty awful to her, and that's potentially why she wiped out her coven initially, like the Salem event or whatever that they haven't really gone back and explored
And
quite yet.
And I've read online where people are, and I think it might also be, I don't know if it's comic book accurate or in a series this might have happened where Agatha's mom, or the father, I should say, of Agatha is Mephisto.
Interesting. I did not know
like
that.
Mephisto and Agatha's mom had Agatha.
So that would make sense why Agatha's mom hated her and potentially like abused her and
yeah,
all that stuff. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if
they name dropped Mephisto earlier, so
yeah,
I don't know.
and totally offhand too. Just like as a reference is like he's real. He exists here. So
right, yeah, that was it. It was just a passing reference. Another interesting. I mean, kind of the main part of this episode that was the big event was Alice tried to use her power against Agatha when she got possessed by her mom, I guess. And then Agatha ended up absorbing her power and killing Alice, which it was a pretty big deal because through the first 4 episodes, you kind of think like, oh, she's like starting to like these guys. Like she actually starts to care for them. And then by it, even if it was intentional or not, she ends up killing Alice. And so everybody obviously freaks out at the end of the episode. But yeah, what did you think of Alice dying, not making it through the rest of the show?
I mean, it was a good shock. Like I kind of expected like Agatha just hoofing with this coven until the end, and I thought that's when she might strike. But I think that's what keeps you on your toes and made this show great. Is like you kind of never really expect what's going to happen, and and we probably the non-average viewer like us would know that hey, the moment someone does, the first person that's gonna use their magic against Agatha in any manner is probably going to get killed and have her magic taken from them. So
right, yeah.
So yeah, it was a good shock because
yeah, it was a good shock. Alice was trying to help Agatha by getting rid of her mom being possessed, but then and like I said, I mean, it might not have been intentional. Like Agatha seems pretty shaken up by it as well, so she might have just like done it without even thinking, and then all of a sudden like, oh crap, Alice is dead. Oops.
Oopsies.
And to her credit, I mean, Agatha Harkness is a villain, so like she might not actually care, and I think that's okay. Like I don't think we need to make her a sympathetic villain in this or anything like that, but I guess we'll find out towards the end. So that was kind of the big thing in episode 5. Episode 6 is another big one because we get a lot of context from Billy, who we find out, is what do they call him again before he becomes Billy Maximoff? I don't remember what his name is there.
Oh, isn't it William Kaplan or something like that?
Yes, William Kaplan. They go through kind of this, Jewish backstory, which I don't know much about Billy or Wiccan in the comics, but apparently there is some kind of like Jewish backstory in the comics. So I think that was a reference to that. Apparently, it's kind of cool. But like I thought all that stuff was kind of fun. We find out that he goes into that tent with Lilia, and she's the one who puts the sigil on him. I thought that was a really cool reveal, and it makes total sense with her character that like obviously it's a sigil, so like even Agatha mentions earlier that like even the witch that puts the sigil on somebody doesn't know that they put it on them, but it being Lilia just makes like perfect sense, I feel like, and it fit in the story so well. But then yeah, and that was another moment from episode 7, by the way. The tower reversed was some random blurting of words that she did when she was reading William's like tarot cards or whatever.
Oh yeah, which I found odd. Like, is it common for people who have bar mitzvahs to have
that was interesting
reading?
I was like, that seems weird for like a pretty, it seemed like a pretty,
especially for
I mean obviously it was like a big party, but
for
like
a religious
it was
event where it's
right
like
for a very traditional like Jewish ceremony to have a like a what most Jewish and Christian people would consider like a satanic like influence or whatever through that. I don't know. It did seem kind of odd and out of place, but like whatever, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to ask some like Jewish people if they had tarot card readers at their bar and bat mitzvahs. See if that's a common thing, because I have no clue. But yeah, that was interesting. Tower reverse. That was a phrase that before we kind of got the reveal in episode 7. When she said that, I was like, oh, is she talking about like the tower that like WandaVision or WandaVision? Is she talking about the tower that Wanda died in Doctor Strange 2? That's my first thought that came through my head. I was like, tower reverse, like is something going to happen in the show to like reverse the actions of Doctor Strange 2?
Oh, I never even thought about that. Wow,
that was my first thought when she said that. I was like, oh boy. And then it turned out that it was just like literally the tower that they were in reversed on the tarot card. So I was a little bummed after that reveal, but at the same time, I mean, I don't think there's any less of a chance of Wanda still being alive in this universe, because I don't know, with Billy now, especially too with Billy Maximoff in the mix.
I don't know.
She's got to come back at some point.
I don't think they can say she's even Agatha, doesn't give a straight answer.
Yeah,
but right. I mean, if we're gonna go with the belief that Mephisto's real, the belief death is real, the belief of these witches potentially all having cosmic entities in a sense. The moment, and especially that flash we got when in Doctor Strange 2 where Wanda dies or perils, how she would not instantly be pushed into the dimension where Mephisto might reign, or that other character, not blinking on his name, may reign too, that releases him after the Scarlet Witch dies. So
okay,
that's why I don't think she's actually dead. She's in a different dimension or realm.
Right, yeah, true. That's an interesting observation, because like if that's the case, and obviously like Wanda has this like magical like chaos magic connection and stuff like that, and with all the connections potentially with Mephisto as well, but like then you expand that and wonder like, well, can we apply that to all the people in the MCU that have died? Like, are they going to end up another realm or whatever, like Mephisto's realm, hell, or whatever you want to call it?
Go with the easiest one would be Black Panthers. They're all on a different plane of existence. If you have a cosmic entity that can go get those people, you would think anything's possible in this realm. And that's where I go to, like, you think of Azazel, when he flashes everywhere, it's red. He's supposed to be the son of Mystique and Mephisto, So if that Flash is red every time he goes into a different dimension to appear back into ours, you would think that same Flash with Wanda might mean that she's in wherever Mephisto's in, or whatever dimension Azazel goes into. So there it is. That's my opinion.
This is where we love having Mark on the podcast, because we're diving into the weeds here, talking about stuff that will never probably ever come to the screen, but it's still fun.
This is what kind of then thinking that this is what kind of sucks that that wouldn't be a possibility with Marvel Disney, where it's like, do they not have a continuity person that tries to tie all these episodes and things in, but then also like, hey, here's also the lore of all the comic book stuff. So maybe we should follow it to somewhat of a T and not just leave people hanging all the time and just like, no, we're telling our stories. Like all your BS pontificating is just crap. So
yeah. Well, and you look at the actual like Disney business side of things too. So you got to think that they have thought, is this financially beneficial for us to have Satan as a character? Because we've mentioned in previous episodes, Satan potentially was going to be in Thor, Love and Thunder, but they ended up going with Zeus and kind of that whole, what is it, Omnipotent City or whatever.
Oh yeah,
the whole like storyline or whatever. So maybe they're shying away from Satan, because then you wonder, like, I don't think China is so weird about that kind of stuff.
Well, that's why you just call him the American. Mephisto. However, there is a Disney Plus show that has the daughter of Satan as the main character. So, you can say all that, but that's, and if they use that as like, oh, we're not going to use Satan or Mephisto because of this, and this.
Yeah.
Like, well, what about this show that Mephisto you're currently doing?
Perfect, like, placement in place of Satan, which in the comics there is apparently a difference between Mephisto and Satan, but that's neither here nor there. But like then, like when we're talking about the dimension, I mean the dimension's hell, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean that's what Mephisto is like the chief of, or whatever, his dimension. So do they go that far to be like straight up show hell in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Do you think they would do that?
Well, they've shown us Valhalla, they've shown us the Black Panther one, they've shown us the Egyptian one. Why not? Why not make it this one? Like, what's one more?
Sure. Okay. I think that would be more the American fan base, but when you get to, and this show obviously is not shying away from it. When you get into the same-sex relationships, that's where China gets weird
scene
about it, right?
The scene in episode 6 ain't going to be shown in the Middle East. Maybe not.
No, that's not going to be shown over there. But like that's where you get into the business side of things, and obviously Disney has made that pretty clear that they're not going to shy away from that stuff. And if they don't get shown or distributed in those areas of the world, then so be it. So,
and maybe that's why they would be more willing to do that, where they go into that dimension, because it's a Disney Plus show and not a movie.
That's true. But I mean, you got to think that America is the biggest like market, because obviously this is, the place of origin.
I think with the TV series, yes. If this is a movie and we were talking about this, then I would be like, no, they're probably not going to show it.
Yeah.
They're not going to get a worldwide audience if they go that route, or even have the
scene and other countries and areas also have different iterations of Disney Plus too. So I don't know exactly how that all works out, but like, you got to think that they're also thinking about this business wise as well. So, but either way, I mean, as far as the same sex stuff goes, they're definitely not shying away from that, even at the cost of potentially losing money from other areas of the world. Like you said, though, like movie wise, they haven't really gone deep into that kind of stuff in movies, but you got to think that that's coming, especially with all these characters that we've introduced and stuff like that. So on that same topic, episode 6, we get a lot of Billy's backstory, where we kind of dive into his life pre-Witch's Road. One part of that episode that I thought was hilarious was his perspective of Agatha coming out of her like Wanda trance, where she's like doing the cop thing, and he's just like, what the heck?
Yeah, like
is
literally,
going
she's
on?
just a crazy person living in this town
Yeah,
that everyone
that's
just
so
is like
funny.
nice to. But like, yeah,
Yeah, everybody just
like pretty much
tolerates.
harmless. She's
I
harmless in all
love.
aspects at that when she's
Right,
still in the
yeah,
trance.
exactly. He's just going along with it and just kind of like almost enjoying the ride until she starts like actually like hurting him. But I love that she is saying the exact same lines, doing all the exact same things that she was in episode, was it episode 1? I think it was episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
But his lines and the things that he's saying are so different from Wanda or from
Yep.
Agatha's perspective to Billy's perspective. It is, oh my gosh, I thought that was hilarious.
I really enjoyed how we got to him, or to the how he's, what's the right way to say it? Basically, after the Marvets, they get in a car accident. William Kaplan dies, and then
Yeah.
and he dies at the same time the hex is being, the red hex is being disintegrated by Wanda,
Right.
and we're in this belief that Billy Maximoff, his essence from that goes into the vessel that is William, and then has some form of amnesia that he has,
Right.
to then deal with the next 3 years. I thought that was
at that
interesting.
point, right? Yeah, at that point, he forgets everything about being William Kaplan because he is Billy Maximoff in this body, but he still doesn't really know who he is. Like, he doesn't understand that he's Billy Maximoff. Like, he kind of is just floating in through life. And then this, a lot of this episode deals with like him kind of discovering, like, oh, am I Billy Maximoff? Like, who is Billy Maximoff? Like, what, all that stuff. And one of the biggest, craziest reveals we've had in a Marvel show yet, Ralph Boner comes back from WandaVision. Oh my gosh.
And in the previous episode, I had a feeling he was going to show up. So, oh
my gosh. When they were going to meet the mysterious figure, I literally in my head was like, I wonder if that's Ralph Boner.
Well, what was his username online? Bonerific69?
Like Bonerific69 or something like that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So funny. Yeah, when they said the username like right before they showed him, and it was like, it's my gosh, we're gonna see Ralph Boner. He turns around with the big trench coat and like the bucket hat on, just all disheveled, and I was like, they did it.
I do love
They
how
brought back Ralph Boner and made him relevant to the MCU.
And the context he brought as a character and how like terrified he was because of it.
Yeah. I actually loved this reveal, and it made his character in WandaVision actually matter to me.
Right.
Like in WandaVision, that was the most frustrating thing, was that we get led on about him being, Evan Peters, him being
Quicksilver from the Fox franchise.
And also back then we didn't have the context of all these multiverses, right? Like, I mean, we had the inkling that there was going to be multiverses in the MCU, but we didn't have all of the, lore that they've added since then. And now with this reveal, I was like, I actually kind of like this. I like that they brought Ralph Boner back and made him a relevant character. I don't know. Max probably was pissed about it, but
hey, it was great.
Did you
worked.
Talk to Max about it, by the way?
I haven't.
What did he say?
I haven't talked to him about it.
I really wanted to have him on.
I was kind of just hoping he was just going to show up by surprise when we put this in the group chat. We're talking about this.
Just pop right on to the podcast and say his piece and then peace out. I loved that reveal. Hilarious. And he was acting like you said. I mean, it gave actually, like, among being hilarious, it gave great context to like what happened and like how he was feeling. Like you said, like he, basically got his life hijacked by Agatha, and so
and basically his home stolen, basically too. Where he's like, she's living in his house.
Yeah, and she's in the opening scene too. She's wearing that Boner family reunion T-shirt too. Oh my gosh, so funny. I told Max, I was like, I need to buy you one of those T-shirts. But knowing Max, that will probably go in the trash immediately when he gets it. So we should still do it for the bit. just for fun. But that was an amazing reveal. And the rest of it was a solid episode. Overall, I think that was a really good one. Gave great context, and it wasn't too jarring, because I feel like we've been waiting for context for Teen for this whole season, and now finally we got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, overall, what did you think of that episode, and what did you think of the reveal of Ralph Bohner?
I mean, I think another 6 out of 6. Like I said before on the podcast, or earlier on the podcast, you know, for this being, and I'm notorious for not liking episodes like this where it's just nothing's really driving the story. It's all catching us up on context and stuff like that, and how this person got here. But I mean, I thought it was a great telling of how Billy Maximoff ends up in, you know, in this world, and, you know, then leads some people to believe, like, did Tommy not get into a body? Does that essence exist? Like, if White Vision was so close by, do we have Vision and Vision, and that's, you know, 2 visions in one in the White Vision? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought it was good. I loved Ralph Bohner showing up. I thought it was a great callback to, and how they portrayed that character, giving him justice. And like you said, I think it makes him in this episode, or in that episode, I think gives you more sympathy to that, how that character is revealed at the end of, you know, not necessarily being a version of Quicksilver, but you know, in this universe he's not. So yeah, enjoyed it. Glad we got it.
Yeah. So you mentioned something that I do want to talk about a little bit. So we get Billy going into the body of William Kaplan, like right when he dies. Kind of what has been revealed through this season is that that's why he's on the Witch's Road, is he wants to figure out where Tommy is, right? So it makes sense to think that if Billy was able to get into a body, that Tommy would potentially be able to as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think Tommy is? Do you think he is also in, like, Eastview, Westview, this whole area?
I feel for the story, for it to be a story-driven part, I'm gonna guess his essence did not get into a vessel or a body. Would be my guess. Because then, that, like, so if we're supposed to be led to believe,
like, wish at the end of the
is to, like,
Witch's Road is to, like, bring Tommy.
Give me Tommy, which then maybe he gets into, maybe someone else died. Blah, blah. I mean, there's a lot of destruction, so it's very possible at the time. But then it's like, if that's a case where if Tommy's essence got into somebody, I also feel, then what about Vision's essence? Shouldn't that be somewhere? Like, we shouldn't, if we're gonna have one, we should have both that we don't know where is at. So I'm guessing I think for the story, for the sake of the storytelling that they're gonna give us, I'm gonna guess Tommy is currently not in existence, and his wish is going to be to bring him into existence.
Yeah, I think,
and whether what Tommy looks like at the time, that's up to debate.
Right, yeah. And also the fact that, like, Billy's powers are a little bit more, like, in this realm, so it makes a little bit more sense that his essence or soul, or whatever you want to call it, was put into, or he found, you know, William Kaplan, as opposed to Tommy, who is fast. So, you know, like, I think it does make sense. I think that's probably the most plausible explanation, is that he didn't get into one, and that's going to be Billy's wish at the end of the series.
Or if you go, like how you said, he's fast, his essence maybe travels faster too, or very much he could be somewhere very far away, and that's why they've never crossed paths.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's okay. I didn't think of that, so that's a good one too. Other thing you mentioned, so we do actually still have a Vision series on the horizon.
Yeah.
It has not currently been canceled yet, but it is set to release in 2026. So this is far out. I mean, I guess I would
far out, only like a year and 2 months away potentially.
Yeah, true. I guess it depends on when it comes out in 2026. But I would guess that they have not started production on this, but I don't know exactly where they're at with that. It says that they're. Oh, okay. I'm reading an article by the Economic Times. It says the Vision series is set to begin production in England in 2025. So it has not started production quite yet. But this, we got White Vision in WandaVision, kind of the, like, I don't know, what would you call it? The essence of Vision. No, the essence of Vision was the real Vision, but the White Vision was like the body of Vision.
What did they say? What was the difference? Like, the Vision is the one Wanda created in Vision. Or no. Man, whatever. So, like, the physical body is White Vision. The essence is the Vision that was in the Hex.
Right, exactly. So, White Vision, that was another contentious part of WandaVision, where we get actually the showdown between Vision and the Vision. Pretty cool.
When Vision touches White Vision and gives him all his memories back, that's probably him trading the essence into... Because you would think, theoretically, once he does that, their minds are one, so...
Yeah, you would think so. But then Vision just flies off, and we don't hear from him again. So
just that good storytelling right there.
Yeah, there you go. That's why I said another contentious part of WandaVision, where we're all just like, what?
But leaves the story open-ended, so that's at least, like, White Vision's out there somewhere.
He's out there somewhere, and this will potentially be telling the story of where he is and what the heck he's been doing. So what are your thoughts on Vision, and what do you think this series is going to be about?
I have no idea what this series would be about. So to me, if, like, the Hevis, like, I'm all for it. I think Paul Bettany's great. I love his acting, so I think it's going to be acted well. I think the story will probably be well, but what they tell in the story, I have no idea. And I just feel like unless Wanda comes back, where do they go with it? And I don't know much about his lore in any of the runs that White Vision's been in, so I'm, unless he, like, rejoins the Avengers, that's about all I can expect. But maybe the Vision series will be telling us of the rumblings that Ultron's coming back, and that's him battling his own secret war with Ultron. So we'll see.
Yeah, and Spader also is slated to return in this series, so we're potentially getting some form of Ultron back.
I saw a good video about this where we would never really see Ultron be destroyed. We're led to believe he's destroyed, but Ultron being able to, like, I always think it's what is it? It's a Johnny Depp movie where basically the technology and being able to jump mines grow so big where it's like this AI technology is able to just jump through the cloud into whatever. Yeah. Where it's like, wouldn't Ultron have that ability to a sense? Where it's like, could he have jumped into Vision's body, laid dormant this whole time, just waiting for the time to rise up, and now that he has that opportunity in the vessel of Vision that's now operational, is that where we get into this internal conflict between Vision and Ultron? Yeah. Or has Ultron been waiting it out and is now finally ready to reemerge because the big players are gone, like Banner and Tony Stark, and there's a lot of confusion and worry in the world, so he's like, I can now rise up again and people be on my side. So
I think if we're getting him back, I think it's a very good possibility that it's a Endgame situation with the Rat, right? So, like, at the beginning of Endgame, the Rat comes along and just happens to press this button that brings back Paul Rudd.
Fate.
That's fate.
In the that's fate. The Rat. The Rat is that's fate, basically.
The Rat is fate. Okay, so we're calling this Rat Fate. So if Paul Rudd comes back and he triggers the events of Endgame, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So what if? So Ultron was, like, fried out from jumping through the internet or whatever. They kind of mentioned that in Age of
hang on. I got to pause you too. The video, what is it? There's a clip. There's an Easter egg in one of the Spider-Mans when he's in the warehouse and he pulls out an Ultron head and it had the red eyes. And in the Ultron movie, we're led to believe that when Ultron has red eyes. Ultron is present. So there's literally an Easter egg in one of the Spider-Man movies where we see a red-eyed Ultron head. So there you go.
Yeah,
so Ultron exists somewhere.
That aligns exactly with where I'm going. So like
Okay.
he gets fried out from his internet connection or whatever, so he can't jump like through the internet, but he's still in all of the bodies that he's already like controlling or whatever. So like I think they even have a line in Age of Ultron that says, "Oh, we just got to destroy all of the things of Ultron," right? Like that's kind of the
so if an Ultron head still exists, Ultron still exists.
Exactly. Like did they have thoroughly destroy every single Ultron robot?
Knowing the Avengers,
Sokovia?
not a chance.
Not a chance, exactly. Especially if you got guys like the Vulture going and like, cleaning up these sites and selling all the
we
parts
saved the world,
everywhere.
You guys clean up. Deuces.
See ya.
Yeah, we're going to have some shawarma. This is your deal now.
Very good chance that Ultron still exists in one of these bodies, but he just needs the right person to come along and like activate him and like download his like consciousness into like another computer or something like that.
In the Captain America movie, when the leader
if
the leader gets access to high government classified stuff, he could go in and find an Ultron head and be like, "Ooh, I could do something with this,"
That is an interesting
I very much get the feeling that the Brave New World, the Captain America movie, is going to be a few villains we've seen before team up. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of Ultron there, little sneak peek into maybe the Vision series. So
that would be interesting. I would very much like to see that. So yeah, maybe we'll see something like that. It is kind of, I don't know. I think they did announce this Vision show probably about the same time they announced the Agatha All Along, like with all the, spin-off potentials. So it's interesting that they delayed this so long. I'm interested to see what the timeline of this show will be. Will they pick up right from when he like flies out of WandaVision? Because WandaVision premiered in 2021. So this series is coming out like 5 years later. Where is this going to be on the timeline? That's kind of my question about this show. I don't know where it's going to fit.
And that's where I think like if they're going to do a Vision show at this point so much later, I think you almost want to correlate it with a new series or show that's coming out, where it's just like you can give an episode of like what he's been doing, or you can just be like offhand, be like he's basically, because he's a robot in a sense, or an android, or whatever you want to say it, just sat in one place for 5 years because he was thinking. Like that's how easy you can make it. So
yeah.
Or he's at the Avengers compound helping out, or maybe they're digging out the head of TT or whatever that
the Celestial
that's out of the ground, forming that into the new Avengers headquarters. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, and we got a lot of rumors saying that this Celestial head is made of adamantium, so they're going to need a lot of help to harvest all that
and
stuff.
Supposedly
maybe
it's supposed to be involved in the Captain America 4 movie, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Finally, after all this time.
After all this time, they're finally coming back to the giant.
We should talk about the giant thing that you can see from space, of a hand and a head in the ocean.
Yeah, it's not creepy at all. Like people just saw it and they're like, "Yeah, this is normal now."
And good thing all these Eternals are now off-world, so we don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah, right. Very convenient.
Good thing there's no one needing to fight vampires anymore, because that ain't happening. So
so here's another random thought. We got a post-credit scene in Eternals of Star Fox, which is apparently Thanos' like stepbrother in the comics or something like that.
Yep.
We ever seen that guy again?
Oh, with Harry Styles? No. It'd be great. If you want to make money in a different demographic, you gotta get Harry Styles in there. So
true.
That's where we might get it.
He just like randomly shows up in Secret Wars, and just
but
like,
what we won't get
apparently
is Kit Harington as Black Knight. So we got teased of that also in the end credits of Eternals.
Yeah, right. There's so many.
And Mahershala Ali as Blade. So
Yeah. Oh,
now the line in Deadpool 2 or Deadpool and Wolverine makes sense when Wesley Snipes is like, "There's only ever going to be one Blade." So.
Yep. So sad. sad, but also I do feel like Mahershala Ali probably has a hand in that as well. Like it is. I feel like it's us that he's been attached to project the whole time, but the directors are the one that keeps cycling and like it gets pushed back. Like I feel like he's the one kind of behind it, like saying, "Oh, this isn't good enough."
However,
This
though,
isn't good
like then the
enough.
studio
I
would
don't know.
make a decision to not have him be the director, or I mean the
Maybe I don't
lead.
know.
So
I don't know. It seems odd to me that he's still connected to this after all the changes going on.
right.
You know, so I don't know. I don't know, but we may never get another Blade movie. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard. Like just
Shouldn't
throw
even be
together a
that
movie
much of
about killing vampires.
yeah.
Like it's not
And
that
it doesn't
hard,
have
is
to
it?
be a $200 million or $100 million movie.
No.
You can make it
Uh,
very
do it.
grounded and do it for 50.
Do it
And
a special presentation. Even you don't even have to do a full movie. Like
and then what?
Just
That actually
Blade's just
that
killing a
might
bunch of
even be a
vampires.
better idea. You could have made
Yeah.
that for this year, where it's just a 15-minute special, got the hype up for it, and then when there was so much hype, you could be like, all right, now it's gonna be easy to make a movie because people want this.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and
This
then
is why we
we'll have
easy.
seen Mahershala Ali as Blade, and then everybody will be like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like, yeah, we should get more Blade, and then like you said, then it'll be easy to make a Blade after that.
And a good team up. You literally could just be like the initial team up of Blade and Black Knight for something, and then like the movie could just be a Blade movie.
Yeah. Getting a that kind of crew going together and getting a Midnight Suns, because I know we had talked about it a long time ago how Marvel acquired the intellectual property or rights or whatever to the name title of a movie, Midnight Suns. So like they at least have it on the potential plan down the road. But like just thinking about that and thinking about the potential that kind of movie or TV series or something would be so fun. Especially if they went all out. Like we're getting, scary stuff with Agatha All Along, getting really apparently violent and bloody stuff with Daredevil Born Again coming next year. They go all out with those like different genres. Feel like they could really be onto something.
I guess we'll never know, or we'll find out one day. That's about the best I can say.
Probably not. You're probably right. Oh man, which is a sad thing to say about it, but we still do have Agatha All Along, which has been phenomenal. So, anything else you want to chat about with Agatha All Along? We kind of circled back to episode 7, but we talked a lot about it. Episode 7's phenomenal. 6 out of 6. Anything else to add on any of those?
The thing I do feel would be my expectation being lost with the ending of Agatha, if there's going to be an end credit scene, and this is like a 1A or 1B type of situation, either A, make it tied directly to the next project, a live action project that would be the Captain America 4 movie, I believe.
Yeah.
Or like I've been harping on, even when I talked with Max on our the episode that we reviewed the drops in D23,
the
right?
Hall H stuff,
or the Hall H stuff. Right. Yeah, there you go.
San Diego
Thank
Comic-Con,
you. Yep, the San Diego Comic-Con, where we got into it, where the Fantastic Four with their ties to Agatha, and even the Salem 7 and Puppet Master, where tell us a story where like Agatha knows that they're being controlled in a different dimension. Like that's why the Fantastic Four are where they're at, because they got pulled out of whatever universe they were in.
Yeah.
And that's why they're stuck where they're at.
That would be fascinating, and I would be all for it.
That's my ending.
There you go. 2 episodes left, both releasing Wednesday, October 30th next week. So stay tuned. We'll probably eventually have a season review of Agatha All Along, and look forward to our expectations beyond that after we get that post-credit scene that Mark has already revealed. So,
and one thing I think we should touch on before we end this podcast, Isaac, is we will be attending the Twin Cities Con, I believe is what it's called.
Buddy. Let's go.
And that's in a few weeks for us. That's the weekend before Veterans Day, so that'd be the Oh man, why am I blinking? 8th, 9th, and
it's gonna be
10th.
the 9th.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the whole weekend though, the 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah,
But we're going
right.
we're going to be there the 9th, and there's a lot of, there's quite a few meet and greet opportunities. Anyone could have. The event last time I was there was 2 years ago. I don't know if you went last year, but
I did not go last year.
that's right.
I did go
We're
to
kind of planning
Minnesota
to.
Con, but that's a different one.
Yep.
Twin Cities Con is kind of the bigger nerd con in Minnesota. And I got the guest list pulled up here, so I'll just go through a couple of the celebrities that are going to be there. Grant Gustin, Hayden Christensen, Ian McDermott, the cast of Boy Meets World, the cast of Encanto, a bunch of WWE people, or I guess AEW. I don't know if
Isaac Edlund. You just
a bunch of
can't
wrestling
blink at
people.
them.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I only know WWE, so they're all WWE wrestlers. For everyone to know, the majority of the wrestlers that are going to be there are either independent wrestlers currently or AEW wrestlers. And yes, Sting will be there, who did wrestle for WWE. There we go.
Okay, well, that's where I was getting mixed up on. So thank you for clarifying that, Mark. And the creator and cast of Has Been Hotel, the animated series on Amazon Prime. So yeah, and there's also a lot of like artists as well.
Ton more, and authors,
writers, authors, like tons and tons of.
They're even showcasing like tattoo artists too, which I find like I know that's a big thing for those niche communities. So
right. Yeah, so if you want to get a tattoo at Twin Cities,
basically all these things, all these posters I have, there's even a layer right above there, are from that.
I still have not had a chance to put up all of my art that I got there. Yeah. So this is literally the same setup that I had 2 years ago before Twin Cities Con. But hopefully that'll all change when we get a new house and I'll be able to decorate behind my camera again. But anyways, we are going to be there.
And did you get any of their requests to interview anyone? Have we gotten anything back about that?
So no, unfortunately, most of the big celebrities there, they basically are only going to be there for one day, so they didn't have like slots to interview.
So like they're there for the time and then they're out right away. Gotcha.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I'm hoping that we can still potentially purchase just a photo opportunity or something like that.
Yeah, with us.
With us potentially, and at least chat with them a little bit, maybe ask them a question or two or something like that. So we'll see what happens. But
you should have requested for Danhausen, the wrestler. He's probably there all weekend. He'd be an interesting.
Maybe I will.
Interesting
maybe
talk.
We'll throw in a late request and see what happens. Yeah, but a lot of cool things going on. Then, if you guys want to hang out or meet up with us, we are going to be there probably all day Saturday.
Yeah,
right, Mark. We're going to be.
That's my plan. I'll be staying at a mutual friend of ours, and we're gonna probably we'll meet up with you whenever you and your brother, because your brother's coming with, who's gonna be who's a great videographer.
Yep. My brother Luke has done a ton of editing and video and promo work for us, and he's coming with. So we're gonna.
And I've paid for his services on independent stuff, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I know his work's good.
Edlin Media.
So Edlin will do pretty much a lot of stuff for a price, and he did me a solid for the price I paid him. So,
so if you're looking for a personal editor, go check out Edlin Media. But yeah, it's going to be a blast. Make sure you hit us up on social media. So if you know you're going to be there, we can hang out, we can meet up. And we can enjoy the convention together. And like I said, since Luke is going to be there, we're going to be probably walking around the con, asking some Infinity Gauntlet questions, getting to meet some people, seeing some cool cosplay, all the fun stuff that you can do at conventions. So that is going to be a blast, and you can see us there.
Yep. Good stuff.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for bringing that up. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing that we need to keep promoting over the next.
Hey, it's how we get our. It's how we're going to get our passes moving forward. We got to talk about it. We got to lead up to it. We got to probably clip this and put it online.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me. Mm-hmm. It has been a pleasure to have you on and postulate about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Great to be here. I'm always It's always fun to go into the weeds on Marvel stuff, and I promise I'll watch Penguin. I want to watch it. I haven't gotten to it, but Isaac's
We'll get there.
Holding me hostage to watch Penguin.
Yep. And if you want to hear my thoughts on Penguin, as well as Mark's thoughts on Terrifier 2 and a few other things, make sure you check out the Patreon version of this episode. You can hit up our Patreon for as little as $2 a month for exclusive access to unedited podcasts, as well as other Infinity Bros content.
If you don't want Zane to go hungry, you sign up for the Patreon.
Zane is relying on our Patreon to buy his Hot Pockets.
Yeah, and Hot Pockets have gone up in price, so...
yeah, that's true. That's true. They probably have. Hot Pockets and Dino Nuggies and Mountain Dew.
And Mountain Dew.
That's what Zane's living on right now.
Oh boy.
Thankfully, he's got a wonderful lady to make him some food, since he's not going to do it himself.
Right.
So. All right. Wherever you're listening, however you're listening, thank you so much for making us a part of your podcast experience. We love you 3000. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, and YouTube at the Infinity Bros. You can also check out our website at theinfinitybros.com for links, reviews, and sweet merch. Feel free to send listener feedback via social media or email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.